I've got, obviously I'm on GitHub, and ideally you guys would be doing this on GitHub. I'll go over and do the a little advanced section maybe later after we've done all the basic components. But really it's as simple as heading over into the content folder, choosing the folder, preferably English first so it can all be translated from. But if you want to add any maybe alternative languages, or if there are any other folders here, for example, that is Vietnamese, you can go ahead and start from here, which is totally fine if it's specifically for the Vietnamese community or whatnot. But we're going to do English because that's just the basic stuff that's going on here. I'm speaking English, obviously. And I've kind of set up this blog post folder and this docs folder, and this is for the website to recognize what content to put where. Basically, like I've got these links up here in the nav bar. Documentation files go into the docs folder here, and blog files go into the blog folder in here where we do all our main content. And you can see they're completely different formatted pages because one's for documentation and one's for blog. And it's got an RSS and everything else like that listed all out depending on dates and synopsis and a short, time to read, whatnot. And it all starts with just a markdown file. And if I'll go ahead and I'll go and create a new markdown file. And we're going to call this post 3.md. And to save myself some time, I'm going to open up a new link on the blog folder and find something, previous post as boilerplate, and just edit the file, but make no commits, copy what's in here. Oh, sorry, no, I'll copy the front matter, which is this YAML front matter, stands for, I think, another markup language, I think. But I'm going to copy this front matter, cancel the changes, go back into my new file and paste it back in. And from here, I can name my post, my third post. And it's important to note to make sure that you name your title the same as your link title, because to make that distinction clear, your link title is on the side here, and the link that you click on, and the title is obviously the name of your post, so where you have your subtitles and your paragraph and whatnot. And from here, it's just simple as adding content, right? So I'm going to go grab some lorem ipsum because I really don't want to write a bibliography here. So generate some lorem ipsum. I'm going to generate a paragraph and I'm going to paste that here. This formatting sucks. Right. If I can just... Ideally, you won't have to deal with this copy and paste nightmare that I just did. It happens when you copy and paste lorem ipsum, but here we are. Here's some boilerplate, some random gibberish, and I want to go and commit this. Right. And before you actually go and commit anything, I think it's best that you create a new branch, and we're going to call this Particylon log post, and going to propose a new file because we want to separate the control or the commits away from basically having to put this into the main branch and actually confusing, draft content with, official committed content onto the main website. We don't want to do that, so we want to separate it. And and that's what we're going to be doing. So when you go to commit, you create a new branch and you name it something relevant. So in this case, Particylon, my username, and the blog posts in English. I'm going to propose a new file. created a third. It's going to automatically create a pull request. And that's going to be basically pointing to the main branch, which is what we want. So I'm going to call this new content. New content. I think it's content, English, new blog posts or something. Right, and you can fill up even a more descriptive, precise description here, or we can just go and create a new pull request. And voila, if we go and check out our branch here, we can see now that our file has been added into the English folder under blog, third post here. And what that would look like is that would, I'll give an example here. I'll just go into the raw. I'll copy and paste all that, go back, I'll go into VS Code, ignore this here, but I'm going to go and do what it is, basically what we did, but in a different application, create a new file. I'm going to call this post.md. Oh, sorry, it was post3, I believe. -3. Copy that into here, save it. And if we jump back over into this, we can see my third post would have shown up. And this is what it would look like once we go through that discretionary process of trying to filter out the typos or the content necessarily, what it is that we want to put into the main website. And that was the whole point of separating it out into a pull request, such as what we've done here in this patch. I don't know why I've got a second tab open. Anyway, yeah, so that's that. And if you want, you can also create it. We can also chuck it into a new folder if we want to basically put it into a subdirectory like I've done with the nesting. So we can actually nest our posts to as many posts as we want to basically, again, make it a little bit more tidier and clear what the posts are for. In this case, I've done a nesting test. So with the nesting test, I've got just the main test sort of folder within the nested posts inside. And what that looks like on the text editor is under a folder called nesting, obviously keeping it relevant to what it is that you're putting in there and the necessary folders. And you will see that there's this underscore index in here. And if I go into GitHub, where it is you guys will be working, oh my God, what is this? Anyway, if we go back into blog, we can see that the folder is just, again, it's pretty similar to what it is on VS Code. And we'll see here that we've got our 3 files. And you'll notice that there's an index MD. And what this does is just basically declare that there is a, there's a link containing all these posts within the, it's basically a box where we put in all our posts inside. And then what this does is just contains it in this form here. And you can see it's kind of got the indentations on the side. And that's kind of, we have the index to declare that this is what it's containing. And then we, as follows. It's just a simple front matter. It's not hard. You can simply just copy any underscore index. And, I'll go ahead and just create another folder, I think. We'll go add file, create a new file. And to create a new folder in GitHub, sorry, you can go just, what should we call it? News, / and then you can see up here, it's updated itself to create a new folder. And then we can go news/01.md, and I'm going to go ahead and copy that same front matter because it's, you have to have that front matter for the whole sort of way this website's configured for it to recognize this and input the content for us to see. And I'm going to go my news post, and I'm going to obviously copy that same. Well, that's just one word, so make sure the link title and the title are the same, and obviously put in your dates. We can make it, I don't know, in the future will be 2049. the year of the Blade Runner. So this is a test news post, so just short description describing what the blog is about, and obviously some random lorem ipsum. I'm going to dump in here. Cool, awesome, great, that's amazing. I'm going to just clean this up a bit. Cool. And I'm going to commit directly to the Partisylom blog posts English new news posts. Oh, what did I just open? God, my butterfingers accidentally hit up Momoset. That's not what we want. Please go away. Commit new file directly to the branch. Great. And you'll see that it's no different than what it is that we did within the blog folder. We just simply created a new news folder or sense like that. But we also have to add in a _index markdown file for it to recognize this whole collection of posts that we're creating in here. So I'm just going to go create a new file, _index.md, and go back into the news. I want to just cd back a couple bits, and in here I'm going to go into the news. Oh no, that's the wrong one. I want to find the nesting _index, click edit with the little pencil that I just clicked up there, copy this front matter because I want the same front matter, and go back into our new file. See here, so I've copied this front matter here, Control C, back into the file that we just created, which was the _index, which is nested in the news folder. And then I'm just going to paste that in there, and I'm going to call this, again, the same process when doing your front matter. You name it, the title and the link title the same. And so we're just going to call this news. We'll just call this news, and we'll give it a random weight. So obviously weight that isn't the same as this one. So we're going to go give it an arbitrary number of 40. And we're going to go, okay, just leave it at blank, created index ND. _index.md for news blog posts. Commit new file, and voila. And yes, Andreas, please.
I have a question. So we can create a folder, right? I mean, for example, for Indonesians, we have ID _blog and then /news. I mean, now if we want to add some image and assets, where do we put these assets? Because we need to link it to our content, right?
Right. That is a very good question. So any assets that you might download, you would more or less, you can either link them. So you can do a sort of arbitrary is markdown syntax. So you can actually, I'll find a random image and I'll give you an example. So there's the link through, say, Google Images. So if I go, what's something I could put in here? Let's just type in cat G. I don't know, cat. Let's take this kitten, and if we go copy the image address, or if you want, you can simply just right-click, open the image in the new tab, copy the image address or copy the image, but we'll go for copy image address for this sense. And given it's just markdown, we can just go exclamation mark anywhere in this main body here, and the open bracket, we'll just call it cat, and parentheses, open and close, and then we just input our link. And if you click on the preview, it should come up. There we go. Right? So that's how you add images. YouTube videos or anything else that you want to add in, there's a short code specifically for Hugo, which is the compiler that builds the website. It's used for the Eastern Town Hall, and it recognizes on these little types of snippets. And what you can do is you can find a YouTube video you like, and let's say we like the look of this Mandalorian Naboo starfighter. Spoilers if you haven't watched the newest Star Wars. Book of Boba Fett, very, very good. I highly recommend it. Anyway, I'm not here to shill Disney's crap. So if I just create the, again, curly bracket, open, curly bracket, close, and then I have the less than and less than, or the greater than and the less than signs, and just a double space. And all I have to do is just type in YouTube and then paste the watch ID, which is this, which is this little ID here. You have it in the URL. Yes, Andy, yes. Please.
Pardon?
Go, Andreas or Andy, anyone? Tell you.
Yes, for me, it's can you actually make the font larger on your GitHub so we can see it clearly? It looks a little bit small. Yeah.
Can I make the what larger? The text?
Could you zoom up?
Yeah, zoom
your
up,
website.
Yes.
Your Chrome.
Your Chrome, yeah.
Okay, that's
right.
Great.
Is that better, or is that?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Andreas, you want to say something?
Yes. After you explain us about the YouTube, could you explain also for us if we want to add our image? For example, we create some image, right, for Eastern Catalyst Town Hall.
Yes.
We create a banner. Could you explain to us where to put this image on our GitHub as an assets, in which assets folder, under which folder, and then just show it to us? Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Good question. Right, and I'm just going to commit these changes because why the hell not? Anyway, there's a cat there, bringing happiness to your lovely, lovely lives. So if you wanted to add any kind of new images or such the like, you can always just do it here directly in GitHub. And we can just, like it's like how we've always have shown you just previously before, which is adding files by creating new files. What you would do if you have any sort of custom content that you want to show up, you would just essentially, I'm just going to go and find a new cat image, this one who looks like it's on catnip, I think, and just copy this image. Obviously it wouldn't be a cat, but I'm just going to save this locally to my drive. I'm just going to call this cat1, save. cat1, and obviously, and this is now on my, this would be obviously locally on your hard drive, and all you have to do is just basically under news or whatever it is that you're putting it in, you just upload a new file, and you would just nest them directly within the folder that you were referencing it in. So added kitty image. GitHub's going to process that. And you're not actually directly uploading this to GitHub per se, because I've got Git large file storage on. So what it does is just basically shifts this away from the main repository we have here and just symbolically links it, because otherwise it would just be a really, really big repository and it would just clog up. And the last thing we need is a bunch of different images and media and video, just really, really adding density to this. So kind of what I've done, what you would do either whether it's Vietnamese or Indonesian, the same process applies. You just, because I've added it here, I've got it within my news folder, and I can simply just go back in here, and I think I'm trying to remember how I've got it referenced on my I actually have a reference on another markdown file just to help me bootstrap my mind here. I'm trying to remember where the heck it is. Underscore index, bear with me people. I think it's in the other one, content, English, blog, news, first post. Right. Yeah. So as you can see here, there's another short code here. So we might actually have to do that. Right. So I'm going to copy this short code and I'm just going to put it here for you guys to see. Okay. And this is again like another short code like YouTube. Instead of, so there's one, like the first method I showed you, which was doing it via say, the internet, Google Images, or anywhere else you find online that you want to reference. Or there's the local way, which is featured sunset, as I'm just trying to remember what the shortcode is, and I'm opening random stuff. Imaging camera, featured sunset get. God, you're really putting me on the spot here. What is it? Kitty? Cat image blog. What was the name of the image I called? It was news cat_1. Cool. And what that's going to do is essentially just fill it out, and then we've set an arbitrary sort of width and length to our image, and it's just, we can make that as big as we want, we can make it as small as we want, it really doesn't matter. We can also do the same thing here, which is just if you don't want to use the shortcode and do it the even more simple way, we just simply replace this link with the link of our cat image. I think that's what it's called. So just cat_1. That should pick it up, hopefully. I don't know. Well, it's picking something up. Again, this is something I need to investigate a little bit more further, Guy. So I apologize if I'm not making this clear enough, because it's not clear to me just yet in terms of how the images are added just yet. But I can do a secondary video, or maybe I can clear that up in the future when, because I actually don't know how to do the local.
No problem.
The local.
You can add the link of the image in the GitHub.
Yeah,
you have already added it.
I'll tell you what I do. Is basically I'll do one of those GIFs like I did with the Twitter thing, and you can just follow that, and then that should basically clear things up to you once I figure out how GitHub, or how you locally build, how you locally do images within GitHub itself. I know how to do it locally on my hard drive, but that's not what I'm trying to push here. I'm only really trying to just do everything on GitHub at this stage, and that's mostly just arbitrary text with a link or any kind of shortcode that the YouTube shortcodes, which are relatively easy because it's only just YouTube and the link of the watch ID.
Thank you.
So I apologize, Andreas, if I can't answer that immediately. Right. So
no problem at all. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So that's how we add content. That's how we do it up in here in the biz. And you'll notice that once we've gone ahead and we've gone and done this whole process of adding new stuff, I'm going to go ahead and merge this pull request. And, you know, for the sake of argument, in the real world, we have reviewers, assignees, and labels being a little bit more descriptive what's actually going on in here. But you can see that there's all the history and all that stuff here. But I'm going to go ahead and confirm the merge. Merge is successfully completed. I'm going to go ahead and delete the branch because we don't need that anymore. And if I go into my main, oops, C3 sandbox, cool. And you see that the branch is gone and everything else has disappeared. And I'm going to close the web server and I'm just going to do a quick git pull. And you'll see that that's the wrong directory. Content, English, blog. You'll see that we now have our third post shown up and our new nested, what is it? What I'm trying to say? Nested blog posts. That's the one. And for some reason, the news folder didn't show up. Now, why was that? I could have sworn I put that in there. News, add a kitty image, markdown. Good. Aborting, updating. New post. Oh, God damn it. Anyway, that shouldn't happen, but at least one of our posts showed up. This is not looking too good on my end. But if I just go into a simple Hugo server, open up the main blog. Let's think here, blog post, third post. There it is, third blog post. Yay! And all right, so that's how we do it on the main branch, and that we make sure that every time you go to create a new piece of content or any kind of nested content, I will obviously, if you want to add your own images, I'll add something into that later tomorrow when I figure my stuff out and I got my A into G. But the base idea is all this, right? So we add file, create new file, and we make sure that we have our front matter, which is basically this stuff here. We copy this and we add that to our new file that we created, and making sure that the file extension is .md. We make sure that our title and our link title is the same. We also make sure and check that we've got the correct date, because you don't want to confuse the living heck out of your readers that go to say, wait a minute, this was written in 1854. Wow, that was impossible. So you don't want to do that for the sake of obfuscating. And description, short little description, and then you put your base sort of content in here and your links or images or videos like I've done here. So this is what videos, the YouTube shortcode looks like. And this is what the image shortcode looks like on our blog site here. And that's adding content to the Eastern Town Hall website. And also a bonus, because I've also set it up with Localize does a pull every few minutes. So it syncs up with the repository that it's actually targeted to. And in this case, I've got Vietnamese set up. And if we check on any of the language, if you're familiar with this process, which I hope you are, we can go to the blog and we can see that our posts have shown up, and we can go ahead and do the translation stuff. And then once that's done, we'll be able to switch over to Vietnamese and see that our, Vietnamese stuff would have appeared widely into the website's pages. And that's adding content to the website. And what it looks like on the main repository is no different, because it's just a fork of the template that I did. But on the main website, you can see that it's exactly the same. We have the content folder. We have our languages. If you're Indonesian, for example, you click on your Indonesian folder. You go into your, you don't actually have a blog. So that's interesting. Backtracking, Vietnamese blog, there we go. There's a blog in Vietnamese, and you can see that they have the underscore index describing the sort of the overall nesting, sort of a welcome message, the weight, link title, and the whatnot. And if we go back into the blog, we click on our news, we can see that we have a first person, an index, another index. And again, it's just the same, literally identical as if we're to do it in English. In this case, I've added a Catalyst TV, but we're not going to go into that. So news, second post, and you can see that I've got, we have all this front matter, Mihaya Uyeru visits Vietnam, and we have our description. So it's really as simple as that. It's not rocket science. And you guys are fully capable of doing this. And I will have to make this absolutely more abundantly clearer than actually, stopping and starting and then actually trying to account for all the requests that you guys actually want to see in a more fleshed out video. And I just saw someone's hands raised out because I've been focusing on this. Any questions? Now's the time.
Okay, so from my side, basically we will work on the main repo, right?
Yes.
With,
and
the sandbox is just to try.
Yeah, so if you have any doubts, just do it in this Eastern Town Hall sandbox repository, right? I'll get it up and running and make sure I can get it working with GitHub pages so you can actually see your final result working. But other than that, yeah, you want to make sure that if you have any doubts about what it is you're doing, if you want to play around with anything, you can totally just do it all on here. You guys should all have access, I think. collaborates in teams. Ooh. Extra security. So I can just simply go ahead and add you guys to this. So you can then work your magic, basically. So I'll just add Andreas. Right. Recommended for contributors that be pushed to your project. Anyway, I'll do that later. So I'm going to sort that out. So that's for me to do on my end. And yeah, any more questions, Jan, Andy, Andreas, Andre, Stephen? Is that all clear to you? Do you want me to go over something that was confusing that I didn't explain well? I'll move on to the more speedy version of actually adding stuff. But please, Stephen.
So in live, it's staged, is it, Jack? So you kind of do a series of changes on a local branch, then you submit that for review. Is that how it happens on live? Okay.
Yes.
Just who's reviewing that? Is it you and Jack and you and Robert, or
any maintainers, basically me, Robert, or if it's Jan who's supervising his maybe community that's pushing stuff up, maybe just any secondary verification, basically. But you only ever need just one reviewer or two. It's not. Okay. If you want to see things pushed up through, just ping me and I'll come and check it out and work with you guys. Any more questions? The floor is yours. No? Okay. So I'm going to move into a little bit more, I'd call it intermediate, but if it's too confusing for you, that's okay. Basically what it is I've explained to you is all you need to get just to get going. But for those that want to maybe speed up their pipeline and you want to take it to the next step, this will be recorded in this video and uploaded up to YouTube, so you can always take it up on yourself in your own time. So GitHub, having been acquired by Microsoft, has actually implemented its own web editor, or the web VS Code text editor version, because what you saw here, me fiddling around previously before, is the sort of the local VS Code text editor on my local machine, but they've actually implemented this specifically into GitHub and the repositories. So if I just hit the period key, it's going to go ahead, recognize that I've pressed that key and set up the web editor specifically for this repository. And I think that's really cool because you can now see it in a more streamlined way of doing content. And it actually is a lot easier, in my opinion, to add stuff rather than doing it through this sandbox way of actually clicking the, oh, my bad. Take me back. Oh, anyway, it's got the wrong tree because it's deleted. Backtracking, rewind. Yeah, okay. And it's a lot easier to add content this way rather than arbitrarily clicking add file, upload file, add file, upload file, copy this, copy that, click over here, add a new tab. It's just expensive and it's just really mundane and boring. Whereas actually it's just convenient doing it all in the text editor. And this would actually be a good introduction to actually for you guys to use this should you ever want to move up to the next level. Otherwise, like I said before, just stick to doing this on the main GitHub repository. But let's go ahead and shift things along. It's the same process as before, but the difference here is just in a more detailed list view. And you can select out your content folder because it lists out all the materials and the files in your repository out in this way. And we can just click on our English, click on our blog, and each of these are just folders, by the way. And you can see that we can just click up on this little page with the plus up here. We go new file, and we just call this post4.md. And it's got these tabs, which is just so much more convenient than just clicking new tabs up in here because it's all just in the one editor. So we can actually just click up here, and you can see that it's actually italic. What that just means is every file that we click that's on this selected tab is going to replace it, as you can see. Whereas if we wanted to pin it to the actual window that we're working in, we can just double click and then we'll just shift to regular, or we can just go ahead and delete it. But I'm going to go to post 3. I want to copy this front matter like I did before. We've copy the front matter. We go into our new post, and we obviously get rid of that random T. And I'm going to go my fourth post. Make this 2022 the first of the 27th. This is a fourth test. And you've obviously got the full control of VS Code all within your web browser, but I'm not going to go over any of that. I'm just strictly focusing on the editing side. So I'm just going to type in some gibberish, jibbity-jab gibberish. Actually, that's unprofessional of me. I should probably just do the, lorem ipsum like I had before. Oh, I'm hitting random buttons again. And again, I shouldn't have to worry about any of the annoying formatting options. So just go in there and then I don't have to do anything. That's great. And as you can see, there's this little tab over here that's called source control. And what that is, it's just to let you know what changes you've actually made to the repository. And it's just, there's this code of way of integrating GitHub within the editor for you to easily push, pull, branch stuff, right? So you would just go into your Explorer, you make your changes. I'm going to go ahead and maybe add some more advanced, maybe just the stuff that we've gone over, but all into one document. I'm going to go into my new.
Hi, Jack.
Yes.
Could you repeat to us how to show the screen from GitHub?
How to show this? Say that again.
How to show
GitHub
this visual code?
Is my screen too small again? Is it?
Yeah, I mean from the GitHub screen, and then to show this kind of screen.
Oh, right. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I got that. Thanks for that. So you just want me to show the parallels, yes?
From the GitHub screen,
yes.
in our previous screen.
Yes.
How to show this screen?
Okay, so if I'm translating that right in my brain, I'd explain what's going on in here, and I'll explain the same process of what's going on in here.
How to show that screen from here? Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I've got you. Yep. Right. So obviously, I'll just backtrack. I'll delete this post. We don't want that. We can delete stuff by right-clicking on them and just deleting them, and everything's back to the default. So I'm looking into the content folder on this side here, and this is where we more or less are on the GitHub screen. English, blog, and if I'm on the blog folder, you can clearly see here in the nested hierarchies of folders that I've got content, English, blog, and then there's all the folders in here. And if we look up here, we've got content, English, blog, and we have all the folders shown right in front of us here.
Yes.
So that's the parallel. That's more or less what we're dealing with here on the web editor side versus the GitHub screen side. And when I click a new file, what I'm actually doing is when I go post.m-4.
Pardon, Jack.
Yes.
I think what Andre was trying to ask is, what did you press from the GitHub screen that opened the web?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So it was control something, if I'm not mistaken.
I apologize for not interpreting that there, Andre. Thanks for clearing that up, Jan. That really helped. So to access that screen that I'm in here now, I simply just press the period key. So that's the little dot next to your / and your comma. So I just press the period key. I'm in the main repository. Make sure you're in the main repository, and it just opens it up for you automatically within the web browser.
It looks like Visual Studio.
Pardon? Could you repeat that, please?
So we don't need to have any Visual Studio program installed in our computer.
You don't need anything. You just need a web browser. That's all you need. Yep.
I see.
Yep. So if I just go back again, I'm browsing the Eastern Town Hall repositories. I see something I'm like, oh, this sandbox looks something I want to add content to. And I just press the period key and voila, I'm in the web editor, just like that.
Got it.
Is that useful? Does that clear anything up? Anything else? I'm not making thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Right. Back to the main business. So, is there anything else? Anyone else wants to say anything before I move on?
I have to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Jack.
You're
for
welcome.
the explanation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's in. I'll upload it up in the on YouTube, so you'll be able to go over it again, should you get lost. Right. So what was I doing? I was leaving out of that tab, and I'm adding a new blog post. Right. So I'm doing the parallels and sort of, oh god damn it! I've got this random tab open with my old branch in there, which is annoying. And just go jump back into content, English, blog. Right, okay. And so adding a new file, which is this little plus tab up over here, is no different than just going add file, create new file, post -4.md, and pasting in our front matter like we've done here. Copy and pasting that, copy and pasting that for my fourth. Changing the date, making sure that's correct. This is a fourth test blog post. And you can see that we've actually got everything all up and running. And it will be no different than doing this, you know, copy and paste the front matter, and then replacing the title and the link title, the date and the description, making sure they match up with current affairs. And then you just add in your body, right? I'm going to cancel those changes because I'm just doing it in the web text editor here. And I'm going to copy some lorem ipsum. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to go find some other blog post that actually has the construction dog, because I really like that dressed up dog. I think it's funny. Maybe I just have a weird sense of humor. I don't know if you guys find it hilarious too, but that's just me. Post 2, I'm going to copy the short code. I'm going to copy that shortcode in. So we got an image and we have a YouTube video and we have a body of text. And if we want to nest that, we can totally do that. What we have to simply do is just go new folder, second, name it something, which is second dash nesting. And the way we do that in the GitHub view is we go into content like I've shown before. We go blog, and we go add file, we go create new file, and then we go type in, which is, what did I name my folder? It was second nesting, that's what it was. Second dash nesting. And we go hit the /. And if you want to go back into that, you can hit backspace. So / for moving forward, creating a new directory. Backspace to moving back one into the blog directory, folder, whatever you call it, and you can name it whatever like that. But because we're doing it as a directory, we want to basically scope into that, and then we can simply just add a new file, .md. And that's more or less what we're doing here, but it's just a lot faster and you can see things more globally than having to go left and right here in GitHub. And if I want, you can add a new file, or we can just drag our folder in here, move, and it moves it in there magically. And because we need an index, we can just copy this, right click, select copy, or we can go Control-C if you're on Windows, or Command-C if you're on a Mac. Control-C, and then we just click on our folder, and then we just go Control-V, and we have an index. We're just going to call this second nesting for it to recognize that there's a nested blog, set of blogs. Give it an arbitrary weight higher than 40, so, or 30 that we had, so 45 in this sense. Oh no, actually I'll just bump it up to 50. It doesn't really matter as long as it's greater than. But yeah, so we've got the index folder, we have our second post, we have a second nesting, we've created two extra folders. We have a news with a cat, and we have another nested folder with an index to, you know, scope in the nested posts that we're putting into this folder. And we want to go ahead and commit it and push it up to the branch, right? And like I said previously before, you have to more or less do this on a new branch. So you can just come up here to this onto this. So you'll mostly be here. Once you finish adding stuff, you go onto your source control, and we click up here onto our little 3 dots, and we can just go create new branch, right? Give our branch a name. Let's call this Pardus, which is my username. In this case, yours might be different, but for me, it's Pardusylon. Second blog posts. Press enter, and it's going to go ahead. Do you want to switch to this branch? Any uncommitted changes will be applied to the new branch, which are the changes in the new files that we just added. And we switch to branch. It's going to go ahead and set that all up. And you can see if you look at the URL, it's recognized that we're in that branch now, which is Pardusylon second blog posts. It's going to go ahead, configure that. You have to give it some time. Cue the elevator music. Yeah. How's everything doing so far? Is everything clear?
It's just way more easier than the GitHub interface.
It is actually, in my opinion, because actually having to do it through just plain old GitHub is sort of, in my opinion, groundhog, or just general, just it's like rotoscoping, which is a technique in film. We have to cut out certain parts of film so you can mask out things, and it's just a real arduous, slow, boring process. It's gotten better now, but it used to be where you had to just cut things out. It's kind of like that, and it should just switch over, which it isn't for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems the process to confirming the branch is much longer though, if we were to use it in, ever to make it here. Because when we made it here, it was way quicker.
Well, you can see obviously that it's trying to switch over, but it's actually switched that sort of process over into this branch here. So it's actually created that second branch. And if I go into the English, it doesn't actually have my changes in there. Okay, well, what if I just refresh? I just hit Control R and that little thing came up. So there we go. See, you just had to do a refresh and hopefully it hasn't destroyed. Okay, it's gotten rid of all my stuff. Well, that's annoying. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. The process what I just described is more or less what you would do, but in this sense, when you come into the main branch, I think I'm going to change it up a bit. Instead of pressing the period key to bring up the web editor instantaneously, it's still got my changes in here, which is annoying, but I'm just going to get rid of these and just delete these. Delete permanently. Yes. Yep. Okay. Right. Right. Just going to go back. I'm going to go into branches. I'm just going to delete this second branch. Refresh. Close this. And right. So when you come here, the first thing you want to do, instead of going straight into the web editor, I think it's best that if you just create a new branch directly from, I don't know if you can actually create a new branch in here, or maybe, okay, no. Right, rewinding, press the period key, jump straight into the web editor, and then before you add any content, when this thing freaking loads, right, go into your source control, click on the hamburger not the hamburger, the 3-dot menu, click on branch, create new branch, give it a second branch name, which is second blog posts, patch, whatever. Provide a new name. That's interesting. Content, English, blog. News mobile. Seem to have failed of creating new branches. Test. GitHub failed. It would seem that I cannot create a new branch for some reason. Well, that's frustrating. I'm running into errors, because I obviously hadn't done this whole process before. I'm going off the hat here, so I'm on the spot. But I think
a bug.
It could be a bug. Yeah, it could be something. But anyway, I think before going ahead of ourselves here, I think maybe it's best you just start off doing the GitHub process, right? Where we just do adding the files. And then once you've actually gone ahead, I'm just going to go create a new file, call this post for .md, just to give you an idea. Blog post, cancel, and open up a new tab, go into post one, edit, click the pencil, copy the front matter, Control C, into our new folder, paste it into the body, fourth post, 22, 27. This is the test blog post. Great. That's awesome. And when you come down here, you can just go create new, create a new branch, created a fourth blog post, and you create a new branch instead of committing directly to the main branch, and then we can just propose a new file. It's going to come up. Then our branch will come up with a pull request. I'm just going to go for the sake of this, which is convenient because it does that all for us rather than actually if we had to do it manually through the text editor, which might be just a little bit finicky and is subject to bugs because it's still in its early phases. But anyway, start off by doing the GitHub process on GitHub itself, and then automatically create the branch by clicking on that little checkbox or the little thing, and then it will bring up the pull request, adding more blog posts, name it, assign people. I'm going to assign myself, give it some labels. Say that I want to have this blog post translated, and you give them that, and you're like, maybe I might add some reviewers, but I'm not going to do that because then I won't be able to submit this this pull request. So create new pull request, adding more blog posts. It's going to show up, and now we can go back into our code on this code tab here, and we can click on this tab over here where it says next to branches on the drop down. Click on that, and then we can see our Pardus Eidolon patch 1. And obviously I've created some arbitrary branches in there due to the fault that was the web editor. But if I switch back, Pardus Eidolon patch, we're here, and then I just hit the period key. And then it should just throw you straight into that branch. Then you can go ahead and add your content. And that's more or less what you would do. And obviously, and when you obviously go to create, when you go to commit stuff in this sense, because you have to do it all within here, right? Let's go add some lorem ipsum. Yep, so you add in your boilerplate context or any text that you have that you want to add to this file that you just created. And you would be doing it within the content folder, under your language folder name, under the blog or a documentation, whichever nested folder that you're adding content to. And then we click on how it's got this little 1 over here. It has like a bubble that says 1 in blue. We click on source control, and then we can just have to go up here and we click the plus sign that says stages all changes. And then it's literally no different than committing via, say, here, which is commit directly to main branch. In this case, it will be commit directly to the branch that you created. And then we obviously put our message in here, and that's where our message would go. Added content to blog post 4. Click on the 3 little dots. And then we have this tab that says commit. And then all we have to go is just click commit. And then GitHub will take care of the rest and commit that up to the branch. And to make sure that it went through, we can just check out our pull requests, adding more blog posts, and you'll see here that it's recorded the change in the ledger. And mind the unverified, I'm not, it's again, VS Code being VS Code on the web is a bit buggy at this stage. But as you can see, we've added content, and then you would merge the pull request, go through, or you might actually want to add more content to this branch or whatever it is that you're doing it specifically for. You confirm the merge, and then you delete the branch, and then you close this down because you don't need that anymore. And then you check that it's added in. You can see it in the commit message up here. It's got content, added content to blog post 4. We can just directly jump to that, and we can see that we've added in our lovely content. So that was the more advanced, speedy way of doing things. But that was more on the spot kind of a thing, whereas before I could have just stopped there.
Can I just say that if you make an error in your shortcodes or formatting, it will show up. It won't render there, will it? It will kind of come back and tell you that you've made an error, so you can then go back and then correct. Yeah, so something to bear in mind.
That is, absolutely right. That is something you would also have to bear in mind when adding.
It might be a good idea to could you demonstrate an error?
Yeah, I can demonstrate an error for you. Definitely. So
could be useful for people if they get caught in an error.
Yeah, because to them it might just look like something that's perfectly fine, and when I go to build it, or the website tries to go build it, it spits out a "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" And everything comes down like a house of cards. So to demonstrate this, I think I'm just going to go pop into content. I will create content English. And blogs, just go docs. Oh no, that's the wrong folder, my bad. Blog. Which post did I think I added some shortcode to? I think it was this one here. Right, here's some shortcode here. Edit this file and say that, you missed a bracket, or you did this, right? You just had the curly brackets and you didn't have the greater than and less than signs. You're not going to be able to preview that as much as what Markdown is previewing here. And to demonstrate what this would look like, I will show you. So if I fire up, I've already actually fired up the main site. So this is what would look like, what the web server would render. So if I click on blog, I find a video, which one was it? Second post. Yep. And second post 2, there it is. And I demonstrate the same error. This is more or less what you would see. I save this, and you're going to get an error message. And that's what Hugo, which is the static site generator, is going to throw back at you. And if we jump back into our second post, the video is gone. And I've got this YouTube and random gibberish. What the hell's going on? Well, it's because you forgot to put in the left and right, the greater than and less than symbols, which are meant to go inside the curly brackets. And so to fix that, all you just have to do to do that, make sure you have your shortcode precisely displayed as it is here. And if we go back, we can see that it's rendered back and we're all good to go. And obviously what you would see is you would see it like this. To you might be an oversight, but that's more or less what the reviewers are for. That's what the pull request and the reviewing of the files is, to make sure that this stuff doesn't happen when getting pushed up to the live branch. Hence why I come in here and maybe I'm being a reviewer, I'm like, fix this. Or I actually just do it for you and just commit the changes, ignoring the messages and everything for their argument's sake. But that's what you want it to look like for it to show up like this. So that's more or less debugging, an introduction to debugging Markdown Hugo shortcode. And that's what it would look like. Any questions? Any questions?